Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays intervention and APS rate hike request granted. And so does that mean that the AG is going to stop APS from raising the rates?
I'm skeptical.
Can she do that?
Yeah, I'm skeptical.
Balin Overstolz, our KTAR News reporter, is joining us in studio. And Balin, thanks for joining here. Can she do that? Can she just unilaterally stop the rates from going up?
She cannot unilaterally stop the rates from going up just on a whim, but she can definitely try, and she intends to. So I spoke with AG Mays about this, and what she says is her office is going to be submitting evidence to the Arizona Corporation Commission hearing that is required for APS to be granted this rate hike. So she's going to be participating in that hearing, and she said she's going to be submitting evidence that really shows that this is unreasonable to put on the backs of consumers, in her words. APS has said, I contacted them when they first announced this rate hike, this intention to get it. And they said, we need to ensure the security of the local grid into the future. There is increasing power demands in the valley. So APS is saying we need this rate hike in order to sustain the power grid. But again, Mays is now saying that is an unreasonable request to put on the backs of consumers. And that's what she's going to try to show the Arizona Corporation Commission.
So to be clear, APS is asking for a 14% rate hike. They present their case to the Corporation Commission. Corporation Commission in Arizona, for those unfamiliar, is basically a fourth branch of government. It's not the executive branch, not the legislative branch, not the judicial branch. They are their own thing, and they take care of corporations, and they also take very close care of the monopolies that we have in the state of Arizona. You made mention of demand, and one of the things APS says is that demand is going up, and we have to have more money in order to accommodate the demand. They just got a raise last year and the year before, and I believe the year before that. So how many more raises do they need to keep up with demand? Is demand outpacing their requests that quickly?
Well, according to AG Mays, the APS brought in $600 million in net income last year, which she is using to argue that, there is a need to protect the grid. But again, her argument is that it shouldn't go on the backs of consumers. And she actually called this greed, just flat out. When I was talking to her, she says this is corporate greed, and APS is seeking more than what they would need for that mission of maintaining the grid.
Talking with Balin Overstolz, KTAR News reporter. Balin, what's APS's pushback on that, though? I've seen that APS says that, hey, those raises that Chris just mentioned that they got reflect where things stood in like 2021 and 2022, and they don't reflect the reality of 2025.
Yeah, like many stories we do, it comes back to growth, and APS has said there are more people coming here. We know big tech, big data centers are coming to the valley, which is really drawing on local power resources too. So for APS, it keeps circling back to this argument that we need to ensure that the grid is safe and secure, and that has to come through an increase in rates to consumers. When I spoke with Mays, she said maybe APS needs to look at charging these big data centers, these big tech companies more, what she called a fair share as well.
So unpack that a little bit more for me, because that makes sense to me. If we're bringing data centers to the valley and to Arizona, which are going to be eating up more power, shouldn't they be paying more of the money? If I'm using the same energy or less, why does my bill go up? What does Mays and what does the Corporation Commission and what does APS say about that? Where does that all come out in the wash?
Seems like we're still in flux a little bit with that. We only recently, in the last month or so, saw the city of Phoenix actually create a city level recognition of data centers. So when they talk about building new infrastructure and where things are going to go, that word was only introduced to city level government relatively recently. So I think a lot of it is in flux, and quite frankly, we have to see how it shakes out. But it seems like APS is hoping that they can continue to charge consumers more for this increasing need, whereas others are saying, well, it shouldn't be on the backs of consumers. And I know I keep going back to that point, but that is really what the two sides are saying, is it comes down to that.
Balin Overstolz, our KTAR News reporter, joining us right now. Quick correction. I said they got a rate increase last year, the year before, and I thought the year before that, it was actually 2017 was the most recent one prior to the last 2 years. So now that said, what does this intervention do then? So Mays has granted the intervention. APS is making their case to the Corporation Commission. Everything has to go through the Corporation Commission. So it's not as though, again, AG Mays is part of the executive branch. Corporation Commission is its own branch of government in Arizona. So what is her role then in this intervention? What does that even mean? How can she be intervening?
her role is really advocating for what her office believes is the right course here, and doing that by submitting evidence. She doesn't have an increased authority. She can't go to the ACC and say, don't give APS the rate hike. She can't do that, but she can come and submit evidence that, I think she gathers via the role of her office anyways. And she also highlighted that she used to be on the Arizona Corporation Commission. So I think that she's intimate with how it works and how they consider things. So we'll see what they do. We don't know exactly when this decision could be made, but we do know if it was approved, consumers could be paying more second half of 2026.
So Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays is going to challenge a proposed rate hike by the state's largest electric utility, APS. The Corporation Commission ultimately gets to make that decision. We're joined by KTAR News reporter Balin Overstolz right now. So Balin, we don't know when that's all going to play out, when that's going to come down. But essentially, so it's not a lawsuit here. Mays is saying, hey, I'm going to speak to the Corporation Commission and defend you, me, everybody else out there who uses APS and try to explain why my bill, your bill, Chris's bill should not go up.
Exactly. From my conversation with her, that's pretty much exactly what she told me. Because I wanted to be clear. When I hear the AG wants to block this, I'm thinking, is that an official capacity?
It's a legal challenge.
Is that some sort of obscure mechanism her office has where she's allowed to do that? Law gets complicated and there's so many specific situations. But in this case, it sounds like she really is just going to the ACC and voluntarily providing evidence that she believes will push back on APS's claim that they need this rate hike.
So she had to have this intervention granted to be able to effectively file a friend of the court, basically, is what this is, right? She's going to kind of go in and say, nope, it shouldn't be, and here's why I think so, right? Or a writ that you would turn in support of one position or the other. Who granted her that? I've seen one story. I've got conflicting stories from different sources. One story saying an administrative judge, another one says that the ACC had to grant her that intervention.
My understanding is it was both steps, but it ultimately came to the ACC to allow that to happen as well, which, that could indicate that they're interested to hear what she has to say as well.
Are they saying anything, or they're staying mum on the whole situation so far?
As far as I know, we haven't heard much from them. I mean, that's a conversation I'm excited to have going forward with them to see what they say. But from what I've seen, it's been pretty tight-lipped.
Okay.
I noticed you look at the thermostat in here, Chris. Do you think APS is up to some shenanigans? They making it a little toasty?
I got to tell you, it got toasty since we started talking with Balin.
We'll show them.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. It just started to get real warm in here. Balin, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Balin Overstolz, our KTAR News reporter, as we talk about the AG, who's now going to basically speak against the rate increase.
For us.
8% last year, 8% the year before, 4.5% back in 2017.
They want 14%
more
now.
And remember, they changed the way that it's calculated now. It used to be that you had to take a look at how much over the last 5 years, and if you put this rate request in, now they can do it more often. They can put rate requests in more often. Mm-hmm. As Balin said, though, that this would go into effect second half of next year.
Yes.
That's when it would go into effect. But we haven't even gotten to the point where they hear whether or not they would allow it.
Mm-hmm.
I got to tell you here, bub.
Feeling optimistic?
Nope.
Thanks for watching The Chris and Joe Show. Click to see more from Chris and Joe and tap the button in the middle to subscribe to KTAR News.